Hi everyone, we are coming to the end of April, so I thought we'd get organised and paint ourselves some May floral word art. So grab your paints and let's get started. So I'm beginning with a pencil framework for my lettering first. So I did a bottom line and a top line 1.5 inches apart, and then I just, using my set square and my pencil, worked out from the centre. I did A first and then I did M and Y respectively, just to sort of make it feel like it worked on the page. The challenge with the letters Y is you feel like they're a lot, because the central line's so far away from the other letter, feels like it's really distant, so I made it just a little bit closer than the M is to the A. So that distance there is greater than that distance for there, if that makes sense. Anyway, what I'm now going to do is I'm just going to freehand now, adding in some extra detail. So I'm just fattening them up and giving them little tails and hats. And what I'm going to do for this month's word art is I am going to do a sort of negative space painting again. I'm going to be painting a wash around the edge of the letters. Now the interesting thing is 2 years ago, when we were in our first lockdown, and we had only just started the YouTube channel, so actually the YouTube channel is nearly 2 years old. How crazy is that? And I was also doing various other sort of painting projects and ideas, things to just sort of keep the business going really. And one of them was I did a print, just sort of commemorating everyone sort of cherishing each other and missing their loved ones and things, and it was a bit of word art and it said "Time with you." I've put a link to the print in my shop actually, in the episode notes below, but I did this word art in this style, and I thought, as it was 2 years almost to the day that I did that piece, I would do a new piece in the same style. So what I've got here is I've got Cobalt Turquoise and a little bit of Sap Green, and I'm just adding lots of water into the palette, so you can see it's getting lighter and lighter with each drop of water popped in there. And now what I'm going to do, I'm using a size 2 brush. I think this is the perfect brush for this, because on one hand I want to be able to have the control to be able to paint right up close to these letters, but I also need to have quite a fast large coverage. I need this to remain in a wash and blend out really nicely, so I want it to sort of fade out to nothing. So if you used a really large brush, I mean a 4 might be fine. You might struggle though to get quite so up close and personal with the letters. But of course you'd have a nice fast ability to get a wash down on the page. But as you can see, I'm working quite fast, quite methodically, with the size 2 brush, and it's just about getting the coverage of the page whilst also keeping fairly crisp and detailed. So I'm just going to almost create a sort of cloud of faint wash. Now I haven't thickened out that line on the A, so I must remember to do that. And what I like about this is you're going to get lovely sort of slightly darker bits in this cloud, slightly paler bits. But just keep that brush moving and we'll get there. So the beauty of that wash is it's so faint that we can paint pretty much as if it was a blank page. And so now I am just going to have some fun painting in some miniature spring flowers, and I'm going to begin with some ferns. I've got size 2/10 here, which hopefully should allow me to both paint in the stem, which I'm going to just curl in around there, as well as the leaves. So I always, with the fern, I like to play around with the different colours. So that was green gold with the sap green, and then just drop in a little bit of another colour. You want to make sure that your initial colour has gone down, is still wet enough to have a little bit of a blend. So I sort of every two I drop in that colour. And now I need to be a bit clever, because obviously this lettering is starting to interact with the leaves. I'd like to hope that the more word art that we do, the more that you guys are a dab hand at knowing the various sort of rules and things we try to do with the word art. One of them being that you try to get the lettering interacting with the foliage or flowers around it as much as possible to really define, there we go, to really define the actual letter itself. So imagine there's one behind there, might see a little bit of it there. And this brush stroke, it can either be painted from the stem outwards, or you can come down from out here. But you just want to keep an eye on the cohesion, making sure the little leaves are sort of tilting in the direction of the end of the stem, and also just getting a little bit smaller as they go along, so that you're not sort of hanging around waiting for ages for everything to dry. You can just sort of move down the letter a bit and place in something new that isn't touching the fern, and also keep using this colour that you've been using so far. Because then that'll mean there'll be nice variety as you go down. Now I am going to have some leaves overlapping over the top. Now the beauty of word art is often it's got quite a sort of doodle kind of feel to it. Which means you don't necessarily have to be doing real flowers every time. So I'm just going to sort of not worry too much about the kind of flower I'm going to paint in just yet. with your overlapping, you've just got to try and remember that you want to make sure that your letters are still very readable. So if you obscure them too much, you might suddenly struggle to see what you're actually reading. So I'm just going to fill in a few more bits and pieces, and then we can move on to a different green colour and actually add some flowers in. And now for some bluier green. So we've got Sap Green mixed with French Ultramarine Blue, and a size 2 brush, 2/10, I mean. A 2/10 brush is doing very nicely for me, so I'll keep going with that. So let's paint in. We can have overlaps, that's absolutely fine. You just want to make sure that they sort of complement each other. So just going to paint in some nice leaves again. Sometimes you want to take a bit more care with them rather than just sort of trying to put them in a single brush stroke, and that's absolutely fine. So we're going to have a flower here, flower there, so I will just place in a little bit of a stem here. And sometimes you can just do a bit of fluff on the brush. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't have to be flowers, it can be little seeds. Just let your imagination run wild, really. So whilst you're filling it up, just be mindful of where you're going to place in actual flowers, and then we can always add in a few extra little leaves afterwards. It's time for some flowers, so we'll start nice and simply. Let's get some cadmium orange. And we'll just begin here by just literally squishing down the brush a few times and creating a doodle flower, basically. I'm not entirely sure what it is, it might look like something, but that's the beauty of this floral word art. And I'm going to do this time something just a little bit different. Take a smaller brush actually, so if you want a bit more control, just go down a few sizes. So back down to our lovely 2/10 brush, and I'm going to create some petals that are just a little bit spaced out from each other. And the green stem was nice and delicate, so it means we can just drop them in, but I'm going to pop in a little bit of cadmium orange. So petal in, just want to make sure they're still wet, so you might want to do them each time, or if you're really speedy you could just pop the orange in afterwards. And then down here we might have one that's not quite as open, so all about those little bits of unpainted space where the petals aren't touching each other. Okay, I'm going to put a peony in here because for me, peony does make me think of May. So we're going to begin it there. Really sort of squishing the brush down. I've given myself a slightly difficult job there because I've put in a leaf just in front, but we'll just put a few petals coming down. Essentially a nice big sort of cup flower, and then a bit of sort of frilling about at the top, and then I'm going to pop in a bit of red there. And what might be nice for a peony is maybe having a bud peony there, and we can join that up with some green once it's dried. Right, I think a daisy would be nice for this one here, so I need some daisy petal colour. Now this might be a little bit more stylized in colour because of being on a slight wash, but what I've got here is a sort of translucent grey shadow mixed just from using the shadow mix colours, burnt sienna, Paynes Grey. Basically I always have some of those dregs sitting in my palettes, that's why I can easily access this kind of colour. And then one down here can be one of those lovely sort of daisies that we just see from the side, the droopy petals. And then down here we'll have a rose, and I think we'll stick with the orangey, pinky yellow theme. So I'm just going around in a sort of spiral and then adding a few extra petals. Adding a bit more pink to the middle. Oh, it's looking rather nice. And then again we could add a little bud rose there, and once it's dried we can join it up. So at this stage we've got a few little extra bits to do, but if you wanted to add in a bit of extra leaf detail, you could do that. Oh, excuse me, the dogs are barking. Okay, we'll let that dry and then add in the last bits. The last step is to outline the lettering. You can see I've done it with Y. What I've got here with a 4/10 brush, which is my smallest brush, I am using quite concentrated Cobalt Turquoise and just filling out the outlines. And you could use a rigger brush for this. A rigger brush is a long, slender, bristled brush which I have used in the past for long fine lines, but actually I feel like I'm changing direction quite a lot, so I think for me this short bristled pointed round is the best option. But yeah, we're just going to fill in the lines and then see what we've got at the end. Having in those outlines really helps show the lettering off really nice and clearly, and then yeah, it's just a fun way of sort of depicting the months, isn't it? So I'm just adding a few last little details because I can't help myself. I just love a little bit of detail here and there. I think these word arts are really nice things to sort of have as a little sort of ritual every month to welcome in the season and have a little think about what it's going to have in store for you. There we go. So we just need to rub the pencil out, but that is your May floral word art. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed that one. I want to say a huge thank you to my patrons for their support, because that support enables us to keep creating videos like these that everyone can enjoy. And if you enjoyed it, then hit the like button and comment below to let me know how you got on with that one. And of course, if you never want to miss another video, just hit the subscribe button and the little notification bell. Okay, until next time, bye!